The situation just got very, very escalated, and I wasn't really in a position to handle it.
I felt very agitated going into the circle, not just because of the incident, but I was more frustrated because I didn't feel that there was a real way to address these problems.
Actually, some racist, sexist, bigoted comments, which were not good at all, were said.
So, I expressed a racial epithet, okay? Nigga, go home. Spick, I'm tired of you. Or whatever, or I just said it casually. The person who said it perhaps didn't know how I took it if I overheard it.
Here at MSU, we are pioneering the use of restorative justice to empower our students to resolve conflict on their own. Restorative justice is an approach to misconduct and conflict, which is different from our traditional approach. Restorative justice wants to know what harm was caused by this. And instead of asking what punishment do you get for breaking the rule, restorative justice looks for how do we make it right? How do we heal the harm that was caused?
Sometimes people think that restorative justice is something new that Michigan State has just implemented, and therefore they don't really give it the same sort of respect that they might if they knew that it was a centuries-old practice.
We are bringing the people who were most affected together to actually answer the three questions: what happened, who was affected, and how do we make it right? Those are central to MSU's approach, which you do not find in practice at other universities around the country.
Imagine having to listen to me talk about how it felt. Man, that's powerful. Hearing the person that's been victimized's voice is more powerful than what any sanction or policy can do.
I was on duty, and we were walking up and down the halls. Some girls were being loud, so we just asked them to quiet down, and we kept walking. I went back up to the floor later just to make sure that they were being quiet, and they were being pretty rowdy. So I knocked on their door again and told them, this is your final warning, you need to make sure that you quiet down. I went back up to the room, probably 5 minutes later. I heard that they were talking about me, and it was very, very obvious. They were swearing a lot, and some of the comments that started coming out were very threatening and started talking about using a gun. The situation just got very, very escalated, and I wasn't really in a position to handle it. My building director had a meeting with them, and that's when she gave me the idea of using a restorative justice circle. In restorative justice, you sit actually in a circle, and then each person got to go around the circle, and they would say what happened during the situation. You were never meant to linger on something that someone else said. It was more so just getting out your feelings, so you had the chance to say what happened. After the restorative justice circle, it really, I never felt that there was any harm or anything towards me. I felt like the situation had been more than resolved.
Oftentimes people express themselves through Facebook. I'll text it, I'll wiggle it, I'll tweet it, but in terms of being face to face, it doesn't happen that way.
I actually used it outside of a res life environment on a spring break trip I just got back from. Michigan State had 3 buses. John Carroll University in Ohio, they also had a bus, and they met us in Charleston as well. And so what happened was there was some negative comments said, actually some racist, sexist, bigoted comments, which were not good at all, were said, and John Carroll was extremely turned off to Michigan State University. We were hearing things, but we weren't exactly sure what the problem was. I volunteered to perform a restorative justice circle, and they had about 40 plus people on their bus that we coordinated this circle with, and restorative justice really opened up that that path to figuring out what the problem was, and then from there figuring out what we can do to make it better.
Imagine how free a student feels when they're able to say to the person that did something to them, this is what you did, and this is how I felt.
I was involved with United Brody Black Caucus, and during that time we had some rather discouraging interactions with some of the other students in Bailey Hall. Some of those students had a Confederate flag that they had posted up in their hallway, and they felt that was appropriate, even though a lot of us felt uncomfortable about it. So the hall director for that hall, Ms. Shannon, she hosted a Restorative Justice circle. I felt very agitated going into the circle, not just because of the incident. There are always going to be people that have their personal beliefs and sometimes they conflict with my own. But I was more frustrated because I didn't feel that there was a real way to address these problems to the satisfaction of both us and the guys who had the Confederate flag up. When I left, I felt that I was really pleased because I didn't know that there was such a thing as a Restorative Justice Circle before that experience. And I was glad that both sides were able to speak their mind and not interrupt each other, and having those guidelines set in place led to a lot more significant discussion.
I did actually get a letter from the girl who said like the threatening comments, and she wrote me a letter like saying how she was sorry and she like learned a lot from the situation and she took a lot from it, and that she's glad that we went through with the Restorative Justice Circle.
When I got back to Michigan State, I had one of the girls on the bus, friend request me on Facebook, which was pretty cool, and really, messaged me and was like, hey, we just wanted to thank you for coordinating the talk we had yesterday, and we really appreciate your work. And restorative justice, I think, ultimately in this case ended up working, which is very cool.
I think we came out of there with the conflict resolved, and that's the most important thing.
This doesn't replace policy. Restorative justice is just another vehicle that provides voice. It gives me freedom as a person to express myself related to the situation that I was involved in. And so why is it special? Because of that. It provides voice.